It's harder to get staff on board than it is to get the offenders on board, because this is what they do every day. And so when you give them that freedom that empowerment to make their day better and to show you what they can do, they haven't let me down yet.
Today, I am very excited to welcome Brandon Bunn to the show. Now, Brandon is, it's some episode. So Brandon works as a continuous improvement leader, thinker, but in a very unique industry. He works in the prison industry. And well, he's going to tell you all about it. He's going to tell you what he does and why he's so passionate about it. We get into kind of like, what are they doing and how does it work? I mean, I was asking all kinds of crazy questions as far as like, hey, are these folks like in for life, or they're going to get out and so forth. So we just explored a wide range of topics, and it's very, very inspiring to me personally. And I hope it is to you too. In fact, I want you to listen to this whole episode all the way to the end. Maybe you got to do it in 2 or 3 drives home from work or whatever it is. But this is an important one because I really do feel like the continuous improvement movement could really have an impact on a lot of people's lives in the prison industry. And I know that sounds a little bit wild, but I've always felt called to work in this world. And I haven't done it yet. And me and Brandon talk about it a little bit, but man, I think this might be the nudge that I need to take action myself. But anyhow, please give this one a listen, and please consider what you think you can do to really make the world a better place by potentially helping folks that are incarcerated or, just need a second chance. So now show notes can be found over at gembapodcast.com. This is episode 562. Also, last important request that I have. I want you to please, even as you're listening, scroll down on whatever app you're listening to, go find Brandon on LinkedIn. We're going to have it linked below. And I want you to follow him, and I want you to encourage him and say thank you for what he's doing. And, if there's anything else that you want to say it. But at a minimum, let's flood his email inbox with LinkedIn requests and let him know that we appreciate all he's doing. Okay, enough from me. Let's get to the show. Brandon, welcome to the show. How's it going?
It's good, Ron. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I told you before we hit record that, man, I'm just the topic that we're going to explore today is very, very inspiring to me, sort of personally, not just on a continuous improvement level, but just even like on a deeper level. So I'm really excited to dig into this epised.
Yeah, me too.
But Brandon, you know how the show goes. At the very beginning, we like to have our guests share a quote. So what do you got?
So it's not so much a quote, but more of scripture. Where there is no guidance, the people fall, but in abundance of counselors, there is victory. And that is Proverbs 11:14.
What's that mean to you?
For me, continuous improvement is no good on your own. Not just within business, but in life. We all need guidance. We all need coaches. I don't think I would be where I am and who I am today if I didn't have people along the way guiding me and building me up to try to transform into something better every day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we jump into sort of the topic of the day, Brandon, I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your background, how you first got involved in continuous improvement. And then I suppose that can just sort of naturally lead us right into the big reveal on what you do.
Okay. So I started working in the printing industry around 1997. I was around 14 years old.
Okay.
And I decided very early that was my calling to be in printing. So I spent every day after school, every summer vacation working, and continued working after I graduated high school. And I continued until it was 2019 when I actually decided to make a change for my life and ended up moving to another printing company in our state ran by North Carolina Correction Enterprises, which is a prison industry. I never knew what continuous improvement was. I never knew what lean was until I got kind of voluntold into a class during my job at the North Carolina Correction Enterprise print plant. And I realized this is something I've been doing my entire life in printing. I've always had to, working in a small company, had to learn how to do things faster, how to do things more efficiently. And so when I was exposed to it, I was like, huh, well, it's got a name. I
Yeah.
thought this was just how you do work. So continuous improvement has really created the work ethic that I try to follow every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, am I right in understanding now that you are working sort of full time in the formal prison industry and not necessarily just with the printing side of it? Is that right?
Correct. Yes. So in 2019, when I started at the printing plant, I ended up, it was a culture shock for me, not just the prison, but state workers, they have a reputation about them, and our state can be just like every other state. And it was hard for me to slow down. Instead of working over an entire printing facility, I was in one small area. So I got bored a lot. So I wanted to expand out and do as much as I could. And so after the training, the lean training I went through, I ended up started to teach offenders in our plant different lean techniques. And in 2023, they created a new position, which is the Kaizen Promotion Officer. And so I applied for that and got it. And so for the last year, I've been over 27 plants and 18 different industry types for Correction Enterprises doing lean training. So I'm no longer in the print industry, but it is still under my belt.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I'm the reason I'm so excited about this episode is and you and I had talked before, I've always felt for whatever reason called to like some sort of prison ministry or work. I've never done it, not yet. But man, I'm so intrigued by it. So I'm really just almost living vicariously through you right now, Brandon. I'm wondering, just kind of talk a little bit about like why, like what led you to this calling, really?
Well, just like you said, I felt called. I'd been very comfortable at the company I was formerly in, and I felt called to do something different. I felt called to, number one, to create a better life for my family, but also to be able to reach more people. And I didn't know any of this was going to happen. So it God works that way, man.
Mm-hmm.
It, and I learned more about myself in the prison industry than I did outside,
Mm-hmm.
because you think you know it all going into a place, and there's a lot of knowledge in some of these guys. So they imparted that onto me. So it allowed me to grow. It's definitely not what I pictured when I decided to go into the prison business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what does a day in a life look like? Like, what are you doing as it relates to continuous improvement in inside of a prison? Are you working with folks that are, prisoners, or are you working with the staff, or both?
Yes, all of our plants contain offender employees. I still report to our print plant every morning. Just to give you a typical day, we have a 2-second lean pilot program that's going on at the print plant. So every morning since June, I've been reporting there, and I've been meeting with a group of 10 offenders, and we've been learning 2-second lean based off the 2-second lean book. We've listened to Improvement Starts with I by Tom Hughes. And we created this program, not just me, but I relied on them to give me their input, because these guys are in there every day. we get to go home. So they have to not only work with everybody, they have to live with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed them to help me develop a program where we could improve our processes. And we found that 2-second lean was the best way, because you can have engineers in prison and you can have people that have never even made it to high school in prison. So being able to connect all of them, we needed something simple, something that everyone could relate to.
Mm-hmm.
So every morning we have a morning meeting, and we're at our phase 2. So now, every morning plant wide, there's, I think, 108 offenders in the printing plant. One of the offenders will lead the meeting with stretches, the music, and then they go on about their waste and what they're grateful for. Just a typical 2-second lean improvement
Mm-hmm.
meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then they spend about 15 minutes doing 3S, the sweep, sort, standardize, and then the improvement time. And then from there, they go about their day. And I'll usually leave and I'll either go to another prison where I'm helping out with lean efforts there, or if I have classes, I teach Toyota Kata classes. And we have just created a new 2-second lean course, because my director would like every plant to be 2-second lean, to have it implemented by the end of 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at.
Have you been in contact with Paul Akers?
No.
And you need to, because I'll personally make the introductions, because this will put Paul over the moon, man. So.
I bet. And I have spoken with Tom Hughes. I have spoken with him on WhatsApp, and we actually had a video call, and he sounds about as excited as you do.
Well,
a lot of people get excited about what we do because it's in a different environment. It's not something you see every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, okay, walk us through. Like, I want to geek out a little bit just on the lean side. Like, what are some of the some of the things being done? I mean, we have meetings, great, and all that, but talk about some of the improvements. Talk about, maybe the changes that are happening inside people's hearts as they see improvements. Let's get into that.
Yeah. So within the first 2 weeks of our morning meeting, we had close to 20 improvements, which blew me away, because I expected this to take months. But simple things could be just moving a machine 5 feet over so that somebody's not having to walk.
Yeah.
We had one process where there was a table next to a press, but it was 10 steps away. Mm-hmm. And so a man 20 to 30 times a day would be walking 10 steps there and 10 steps back. Mm-hmm. So I calculated, I said, man, you're taking 100,000 steps a year. Mm-hmm. And this table has wheels on it. Why don't we just move it right beside you? And so I was like, thinking, if we do this to 10 different processes, think of how much time you're saving. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing I've seen is their motivation, because one thing people don't realize is in the prison environment, it's a very control and command and control type of situation. They know what time they're getting up. They know what time they're going to eat. They know what time they're going to work. Every aspect of their day is planned out. So when you come to them and say, hey, look, you're the operator of this machine. You're the subject matter expert. How can we make it better? How can we do this faster? What can we do to make your day better? They run with it. I mean, they go crazy with it. It's harder to get staff on board than it is to get the offenders on board, because this is what they do every day. And so when you give them that freedom that empowerment to make their day better and to show you what they can do, they haven't let me down yet. So, we do have bigger Kaizen events in some of our plants, but the problem we've had in the past is the reason why lean has failed in our industry is because it's always been an event. It's always been something that happened when a group of people come in and you spend a week or two and you might make things better, but after they leave, it's all forgotten about. And that new way becomes the way you're going to continually do it. One of the biggest phrases I hear in our industry is, well, we've always done it that way. And it kills improvement. So allowing these guys to say, we always tell them the first idea is the worst idea. So you might make it better, but keep looking, because they're always going to find a way to just make it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the things we have been improving lately have been very small. Organizing their desk drawers. They love Kaizen foam. We love Kaizen foam. I love Kaizen foam. My wife doesn't like Kaizen foam.
You didn't go into her kitchen, did you? And start like,
no, I did my bathroom drawer, and it looks so good.
It's your drawer. It's fine, man.
Only my drawer. And so I bring my wife in. I said, hey, I want you to look at something. Look what I did. And I opened it up, and I was just like, isn't that beautiful? She said, why can't you just pick your socks up off the floor? That's all I want you to do. And I'm like, okay.
It's valid though.
No,
valid.
Yeah, my daughter loved it. My daughter thought it was the greatest thing ever. I'm trying to impart lean onto her because it can help everybody. It's not this strict process. It's just about making your day better every day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. In fact, funny story, my oldest daughter, so I don't know if you've ever seen our old Gimba Academy video with the dishwasher. In the video, it's my two oldest girls, but they were real young back in that video, and we were emptying the dishwasher and we're leaning it out, right? Like it's part of this Kaizen event course. And anyhow, the oldest one in there is now 21 and just got married. and I was actually at her wedding and giving the little father speech thing, at the reception. And true story is, we used to have the laundry basket right by their bathroom. My two oldest girls. And then their little brother, who is now 18, but back then he was messing around and he was getting ready to go take a bath or whatever it was. And so, the kids would just sort of take all their stuff off right by there and throw it in the hamper, right? And walk into the bathroom, point of use. And my son was like flipping his t-shirt around one day and he just threw it across the floor. And my oldest, Kylie, she's real bossy, anyhow, always has been. And she started yelling at him and she said, Daddy, put this at point of use. Why aren't you using it? And I was like, this is like the proudest moments of my life, man. My little girl talking about a point of use hamper, man.
That's right. That's right.
So, no, man, it's so true though, that how, we really do need to be sort of spreading this just everywhere, right? It can't just be at work. Look, that's the one thing I tell all the offenders, no matter what class I do, is this isn't just for work. Yeah,
this is for life. This can help. When I was teaching Toyota, when I do the Toyota Kata classes, I tell them this can benefit you for every problem you have. If you can create a new habit that will improve your situation, this is what it's for. It's not just to make your cycle times faster. This is to help you in every aspect when you don't know the answer.
Yeah. Now, I'm guessing that it hasn't always been easy, and perhaps there's been some challenges, maybe some obstacles or two that you got to sort of overcome in the whole frame of scientific thinking even. But I'm wondering if maybe you could just talk a little bit about some of those bumps along the way. Like, what have they been and what have you done to sort of overcome them?
Yeah, I think the biggest obstacle we face is the culture inside the prison system. Now, it is voluntary. They volunteer to work for us. We give them every opportunity to want to come to work, and for the most part, they do. They do get paid. They get around 30 something cent an hour. And we give bonuses and different things like that, but trying to motivate someone to do more when they're never going to get more out of it physically, tangibly, not something they can put in their wallet and take with them, has been a sort of a obstacle. But I think the way I found around that and the way to motivate them is, like I said, give them the power to make the change.
Yeah.
Another big obstacle is just the mentality of some of our staff, and it's not their fault. I mean, anywhere you go where there's never been any type of continuous improvement or lean implementation, or at least trial, they look at it as more work. They never see the fact that, this change is going to make your job easier. They just see it as, okay, there's something else I have to do. Now, luckily, most people have been on board since I've been in this position, because I guess maybe they feel like they don't have a choice. It's always harder when I go to the print plant, because that's where I started. Just like Jesus said, a prophet's never really
Yeah.
welcome in his hometown
Yeah.
because they know me.
Yeah.
And so when I go to new plants, I don't have to face as many challenges because they know I'm coming from our administrative offices. And like when I went to one of our plants, the first thing I did was I said, what do they need that they don't have? And so to motivate them, I tried to get them stress fatigue mats because they didn't have any. I tried to get them safety glasses, earplugs, things that aren't required in that plant, but some of them have requested some coffee. Most of our plants, we give all our offenders coffee. It's in our budget, and they just didn't have any. And so once I threw all that at them, they were ready to do anything I asked them to do. But
hey, one question I have though is,
sure,
and don't answer what you're not supposed to answer. I'm going to be pushy and nosy right
sure.
now, but like, are the offenders like, I don't know, are they, I don't know, I want to say, what are they in there for? But like, are they like some of them like in there for life, or some of them going to get out, or a mixture, or what are we dealing with here?
It is a mixture. It depends on the different facility we have it at. Like we have minimum, medium, and closed custody. So we have a lot of plants that are in medium custody. These are people that could either be there for 3 to 5 years or life, but they have met qualifications we set for in order to work in our facilities.
Okay.
So yes, there are people in our plants. We've had people in the same plant for 40 years, and we try to balance who gets to do what, because if you have a very high, I want to say like a technical skill that can really benefit someone out on the outside, and you've got someone in there serving life, it's not fair to keep them on that just because they're really good at it, because other people need to benefit from that knowledge. So we try to rotate guys around, and females as well. We do have our female prison actually is where we print our license tags. So we have women make all of our license plates, and that we have a sewing plant there. We have men sewing plants. We have a braille plant. We do. A lot of people don't realize, even in our state, that.
No, what state? I guess I didn't even ask you. Did I ask you?
Well, I said it. It's North Carolina.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
We have farms, so our offenders grow all the food, a lot of the food they eat. We have a meat processing plant where they process all the food they're going to eat. We have a janitorial plant where they make all the soaps and janitorial products. And these also are used in schools and different government offices. But they're pretty much, Enterprise self-sustains the prison system. We don't have to rely so much on outside vendors for things we can produce. All the offenders make their own clothes. They make the clothes for themselves, as well as the officers, as well as our staff. They do a lot to keep the prison system running. And a lot of people in the state don't even know we exist. They have no clue. Like I'm from a little town called Nashville. It is actually the original Nashville, North Carolina. It's on the sign outside of the town where it says the original is the first Nashville. And our printing company, our printing plant, which is inside of the Nash Correctional Institution, is the biggest Heidelberg printing plant on the East Coast. It's massive. And I never knew it was there my whole life. And it was 5 minutes down the road from me.
Wow.
So, but back to what you were talking about, yes, there are many different levels of offender, and some of our plants do struggle when we have a rotating door where you get guys that come in, they're only there for a short time and they can't really learn enough, and you can't really rely on them. So that turnover rate can affect us a little bit. And then we've got plants like at the print plant, we have people that I call influencers. They're people that have been there long enough that they know every aspect of every department, and people go to them. And so when I'm going into a plant to try to implement some type of new lean measure, I always grab an influencer, because whether they know about it or not, they're the ones that are going to help everybody else out. So when we had our 2-second program, I had 7 offenders that had taken and did really well at our kata classes. And then I grabbed one guy that was just an influencer. He had never taken a class, but he knows every machine in that building and knows every process. So I said, I need your help. I need you to come help me, because I need to convey a message to everyone, and everyone comes to you. And so he was like, okay, no problem. And he's stuck right in there with it.
Yeah.
So it's finding ways to keep people motivated, because I can't give them money.
Well, I was going to circle back to that, just the whole topic of motivation, because I am personally fascinated with it, just even outside of your world, but just any company in the world trying to practice continuous improvement. We've got intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation, and extrinsic is the carrot, the bonus or whatever. And sure, everybody likes to get a nice bonus. That's fine. But in your case, that ain't going to really work. Right. So we're back to intrinsic motivation. So mastery, autonomy, purpose, like really diving into their hearts. Like that's what I'm so fascinated by with your work, is like how you can just genuinely, I don't know how to say it any other way, but make them better people, right? Like make them love themselves. Probably that's maybe the first thing they got to do, right? Forgive themselves or whatever it might be, to just sort of improve their own life that way. I mean, because it's way bigger than, like you said, reducing the number of steps to here or there. It's it's changing people's lives, man.
It is. And one word you hear in the prison world is rehabilitation, and it should really be transformation. That should be the word, because we're not here to rehabilitate anyone. And the punishment.
What do you think's different? Sorry to interrupt. What's different between transformation and rehabilitation? What's different there?
I think rehabilitation is taking them somewhere they've already been. You're saying, hey, let's going to correct this. We're going to set you back to where you need to be. Transformation says, where can you be who can you be in the future? So I think the biggest intrinsic motivation can be recognition, especially in there, because even in the private sector, recognition sometimes is few and far between when you receive it. You always hear the bad news. You never get told you're doing a good job. And even in my 23 years in the private sector, it was very rare that I ever had, hey, great job, And so one thing we do is every day it's, hey, great job, man. I don't care if you just swept the floor, man. You just did a great job. And it works.
Yeah.
I don't know why it works. It's just, I guess, something we're hardwired. When someone recognizes and appreciates us, and it's genuine, you run with it.
Yeah. Man. I'm wondering, well, just speak like maybe directly to anybody else that works in maybe in a prison, or maybe there's other, I don't know, like regulated sort of places, not necessarily a prison, but where things are highly regulated. Like, what advice do you have for those folks who are maybe maybe they got to stand it up from nothing, or maybe they got a little bit going, but it's just not going the way they want it to go?
Well, and this isn't just in our industry, but one of the biggest issues I hear with lean is never having support from the top down. And I mean, luckily, we have that support. Our director he's a master black belt. He loves lean. But before I knew that, I just did it. I didn't want to wait. I took a class and I saw that it was useful, and lean could help us and help everyone in our plant. So I didn't wait. And I didn't ask for permission. Now, this might not be the best advice, but I knew I could help. So I helped where I could.
Yeah.
And I took it slow. I didn't try to climb the mountain in one day. I started at the base, and I inched my way up,
Mm-hmm.
one person at a time to improve. So my best advice is to set a goal and inch your way there day by day. I'm just chiseling away at the things that hold you back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I've heard many lean thinkers ask, how do I get my supervisor on board? How do I get my CEO on board? And that's a struggle, because it has to envelop your entire company
Yeah.
for it to really take on.
What about this question? Let's say we got a lot of people listening to this podcast right now. A lot of people practicing Lean, Six Sigma, all kinds of continuous improvement, every flavor you can imagine. It's pretty much covered by the audience listening right now.
Mm-hmm.
What can we, not you, we, the listeners, myself included, like what are some ways that we can take our talents, the gifts that we have, as I can run a kata class, or I can, you know what I mean? Like what do you do? Just call up your local prison and say, hey, ever heard of Lean? Or like, what do you think there? Is there any value that we could be adding to that world?
Yes. Most, as far as the state prisons go, most state prisons have a prison industry, and there's a lot of them. California, New York, Georgia, South Carolina, just off the top of my head, they're everywhere. And there's an organization called the NCIA, which is the National Correctional Industries Association. You can contact the different industry of that state and say, hey, look, I'd like to partner up. I'd like to teach some classes. Could I do this? Just, you have to reach out to your state government, even local sheriff's departments. I'm not really familiar with that. I'm just familiar with state government.
Yeah.
But, and prisons, whether it's continuous improvement or it's ministry, prisons have ministries all the time, and volunteers come in. And in fact, like in our state, North Carolina State University has Industry Expansion Solutions. They're the IES. They come in and teach us classes. They do train the trainers. So that's where I got my start, was with NC State. So we have outside vendors come in all the time, and just reach out to that state and say, hey, I'd love to partner up. If you know anybody that works in, the state government, they can get you into the avenue where you need to be to help out, because they need it. Every offender needs it, in every state. And our state just happens to be really good at it.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic, man. I always want to tip my hat to you, Brandon, and to all of your colleagues, and, all the offenders. I don't know if they'll be allowed to listen to this, but man, if they are, man, I would just want to pour my heart out to them and tip my hat to them as well for diving in and controlling what they can control, which is their circumstance, and they're trying to make it better. And
absolutely.
That's fantastic. I mean, and I know you're obviously a man of faith, and I just always think about Matthew 25:36. He's very clear. Jesus is very clear. I was in prison and you came to me,
That's right.
And that's what sort of pulls me. And, I keep having conversations like this. Not like eventually I just got to quit making excuses and do something. But boy, man, I really applaud you, man. So well done.
Thank you. Well, hey, look, if it wasn't for the podcast, I wouldn't be where I am. So, God, like I said, God has a way of putting people together, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, fantastic. So listen, Brandon, if people wanted to connect with you personally, what's the best way?
LinkedIn would probably be the best way. They can go up there and check out my profile, and I'll always respond if anyone reaches out.
Yeah. Brandon Bunn with 2 N's, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And so we're going to link it up here, folks, in the show notes. So just scroll down on your app, whatever you're listening to on, and please be sure to go and connect with Brandon if you're not already, and thank him. Let's overwhelm his LinkedIn box with encouragement and thanks for him for all the work that he's doing, but also just for sharing the story on the podcast. So, And I'm going to send this to Paul. I'm going to text him, in fact, when we get off here. I'll say, there's this dude named Brandon. You got to meet him. And he will. You just got to jump on a WhatsApp call with him. He didn't email or anything. He just wants to talk,
Yeah, I know. That's fine, man. Go for it.
No, man. Awesome. All right. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you, Brandon, and keep up the great work.
Awesome. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks for listening. Whether you've been on the continuous improvement journey for many years, or perhaps you're just getting started, Gemba Academy is here to support you. And while we're best known for our more than 1,500 Lean and Six Sigma teaching and virtual tour videos, we also have a team of experienced Lean and Six Sigma practitioners available for one-on-one coaching, as well as a variety of Lean and Six Sigma certification options. To learn more and to schedule a demo, head on over to gembaacademy.com.